Room 417 wasn't supposed to exist. Listed as storage in the building directory, when courier Jake Martinez stepped off the elevator with a simple package delivery, he found himself face to face with 3 armed men. They'd been hunting him for 3 years. The package in Jake's hands contained the kind of contents that would drive them to madness. And now it was time for Jake Martinez, UPS courier, to drop his cover and reveal his true identity. The ordinary courier, who'd been delivering 150 packages daily in Manhattan for 2 years, had suddenly become someone entirely different. Jake had a past that no one knew about until today. And today, that past would complete a 3-year CIA operation. Welcome to Hidden Legends. Tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, because when you learn this man's true identity, you'll understand why he worked the same route for 2 years and why he was waiting for this package. If you believe stories like this need to be told, subscribe and turn on notifications. Jake Martinez, 34 years old. He'd worked the same Manhattan route for UPS for 2 years, 3 months, and 12 days. Every morning at 8:30, he'd arrive at the depot, visit the same buildings, deliver packages with a friendly smile. An ordinary courier. But Jake wasn't there by chance. That route was the city's most important business center, international corporations, financial institutions, the perfect hub for covert operations. Because Jake Martinez wasn't just a courier. He'd served 8 years in the CIA's most classified operations. That Wednesday morning started like any other. Jake began his route at 8:30. 17 deliveries, familiar faces, known addresses. At 11:47, when he arrived at Financial Plaza, there was a different package, room 417, an address that didn't exist in the directory. Alarm bells started ringing in Jake's trained mind, because this delivery wasn't a coincidence, and Jake being on this route wasn't a coincidence either. This package was the final piece of Operation Phoenix, which had lasted 3 years, and Dmitry Volkov's men had finally found Jake. When he got off the elevator on the 4th floor, Jake's blood pressure spiked. The corridor was too quiet. This wasn't natural. With each step, room 417 at the end of the corridor was getting closer. Jake's trained ear had noticed the abnormal silence inside the building. There were no human sounds from the upper and lower floors. When he reached door 417, his hands were sweating. This was different from normal, because this address was the final destination of a 3-year operation. Jake knocked on the door. No sound. He knocked again. Deep silence again. He turned the door handle. The door was open. This was not a good sign at all. He slowly pushed the door open and looked inside. The room was dark. He took 1 step, a second step, and then the lights came on. 3 armed men were waiting for him, guns pointed at him, eyes locked on target. The Russian-accented man in front smiled as he looked at Jake. They'd finally found Agent Phoenix, whom they'd been searching for 3 years. Jake's heart was pounding wildly, but his face was ice cold, because he was no longer Jake Martinez. He was Agent Phoenix, and he'd been waiting 3 years for this confrontation. The package in his hand was the final evidence that would send Dmitry Volkov to prison forever. But first he had to get out of this room alive, and he had only 60 seconds to do it. Jake Martinez had joined the CIA in 2001. 23 years old, MIT computer engineering graduate with special talents. CIA selection was the world's toughest intelligence test. Jake successfully completed this process, which only 15 out of 2,000 applicants passed. His first training at CIA Langley lasted 18 months. Creating false identities, deep cover operations, psychological resilience. Jake's specialty was digital infiltration and technology espionage, breaking system security, stealing encrypted data, identity switching. His first assignments were small operations, drug cartels in South America, arms dealers in Africa, but his real expertise was organized crime networks in Europe, Russian mafia, Italian Cosa Nostra, Eastern European networks. In 2018, he received the CIA's most dangerous assignment, Operation Phoenix, deep cover infiltration of the Eastern European arms trafficking network. Target: Dmitry Volkov. Russian-born, international arms dealer, crime leader with operations in 15 countries. Volkov's organization wasn't just arms trafficking. Money laundering, human trafficking, cyber crimes, state-sponsored terrorism. The CIA's analysis was this: if Volkov's network wasn't dismantled, Europe's security balance would be turned upside down within 10 years. In 2019, Jake went to Prague as Jake Petrov. Russian-accented technology expert, clean background profile. He had to work in Volkov's organization for 18 months. Gain trust, enter the inner circle, collect evidence. The first 6 months were the hardest. Every day, risk of identity exposure, every conversation a potential trap. Jake started in the technology department. He managed the company's legal-looking computer systems, but the real work started in the evenings. Volkov's illegal operations, financial transfers, weapons shipments. Jake gradually gained trust. Thanks to his technical expertise, he reached a critical position in Volkov's digital infrastructure. In the 12th month, Jake was given great responsibility, ensuring the digital security of the money laundering system. This was the perfect position for Jake. He could monitor every transaction from inside the system, keep records. After 18 months, Jake had completely mapped Volkov's trillion-dollar money laundering network. But in March 2021, everything went wrong. Volkov's security chief began to suspect Jake. He was put under digital surveillance, phone conversations were monitored, his circle of friends was investigated. Jake sensed the situation. He activated the emergency extraction protocol. On the night of March 15, 2021, Jake implemented his escape plan from Prague. He managed to leave the building 2 hours before Volkov's men came to raid his apartment. CIA's pre-prepared escape route, train to Berlin, then private plane to America. But he was being followed. Volkov's men had learned Jake's real identity. The CIA brought Jake to Langley, but the situation was critical. Agent Phoenix's identity had been exposed. Volkov's network was still standing. The operation was left half-finished. 18 months of work would be wasted. The CIA's solution was radical. Kill Jake and give him a new identity. In official records, Jake Martinez was killed in Prague. Volkov's men stopped the pursuit, but in reality, Jake got a completely new identity in America. UPS courier Jake Martinez was born. The UPS courier identity was the perfect cover. Daily interaction with thousands of people, but no one pays attention. People see the courier, the uniform, the package, but don't remember the face. Perfect invisibility. For 2 years, Jake became completely invisible in Manhattan. Ordinary life, ordinary routine. But the secret mission continued. The CIA had given Jake special responsibility, carrying classified packages to specific addresses. These packages looked like normal cargo but contained critical materials for CIA operations. Jake's route wasn't coincidental. Manhattan's most important financial center, international companies, perfect hub for covert operations. The second phase of Operation Phoenix had begun, catching Volkov in America. Intelligence reports showed that Volkov was trying to establish a new operation in New York. Jake's new mission: deliver final intelligence to the target address, trigger the final confrontation. Room 417 was a CIA safe house, the final meeting point, final showdown location. For 2 years, Jake lived a normal courier life. Every morning at 8:30, he'd come to the depot, take 150 packages, complete his route. Colleagues loved Jake. Quiet, reliable, always on time. The ideal employee who never caused problems. Jake lived alone in his apartment, minimal furniture, no personal photos, emergency bag always ready. No social life, no romantic relationships, only mission, only cover identity. But there were difficult moments. PTSD episodes, nightmares, isolation feelings. The trauma from the 18 months in Prague was still ongoing. Every night he had dreams about being caught by Volkov's men. The CIA provided psychological support, monthly sessions, medication, coping strategies. But the hardest part was not being able to tell anyone his real identity. Complete isolation, zero authentic connections. Jake sometimes sat in Central Park watching normal people, families, couples, friends. Jake had none of these. The personal cost of the mission was very heavy, but Jake knew that if Volkov wasn't stopped, thousands of innocent lives would be at risk. At the beginning of 2023, critical intelligence came from the CIA. Volkov was in New York. He'd established a base in Manhattan, was planning a new operation, target, massive weapons shipment from JFK Airport. Jake's 2-year patient waiting was coming to an end. The final mission was about to begin. Room 417 was established for this reason, perfect location to trap Volkov's men. The CIA's plan was this: Jake would deliver the final package, Volkov's men would fall into the trap, complete evidence would be secured. Jake had been preparing for this mission for 2 years. Every day the same routine, perfect cover, zero suspicion. But the risk was very high. Volkov's men were coming to kill Jake. Survival chance was 30%. Jake accepted, because he had to complete Operation Phoenix, justify the 18-month sacrifice. The Russian man in front was looking at Jake. He said they'd finally found Agent Phoenix. Jake had the package in his hand, his mind rapidly making tactical calculations. 3 armed men, closed room, only exit door. But Jake was prepared. The men explained that this delivery was their own trap, set up to lure Jake. Jake smiled inwardly, because the truth was, this was Jake's trap. At that moment, FBI walkie-talkie sounds started rising from the lower floors of the building. Voices announcing that federal agents had surrounded the building echoed through the corridors. Panic appeared on the faces of the Russian men, but it was too late now. Jake slowly placed the package on the ground. The GPS tracker inside had been reporting Jake's location to the FBI Coordination Center for the last 30 minutes. It was the final move of Operation Phoenix. Jake's body suddenly switched to war mode. 2 years of courier identity hadn't erased 8 years of CIA combat training. With a fluid movement to the right, he rolled, overturned the heavy metal table, and created a perfect shield. The movement was so fast that the Russian men couldn't even react. At the same time, he pulled his pistol from the hidden compartment of his cargo bag. The Glock 19 that had been waiting here for 2 years would finally do its job. The first shot came with millisecond calculation. It hit the Russian leader's shoulder with perfect accuracy. The man staggered back in pain as his weapon flew from his hand. While the second man was trying to fire in panic mode, Jake's second shot came to his wrist with surgical precision. The gun spiraled in the air and rolled into the corridor. The third man started running to the exit with an adrenaline rush, but Jake's third shot hit the man's leg as a calculated shot. The man fell face first to the ground. Exactly 45 seconds. 3 professional assassins were groaning on the ground, weaponless and completely immobilized. The door opened with explosive force, and the FBI HRT, hostage rescue team, rushed in with tactical formation. Jake raised his hands and confirmed his identity. The team leader made a rapid assessment. 3 hostiles neutralized, 0 civilian casualties, Agent Phoenix operational and sound. Operation Phoenix was officially completed. 3 years and 8 months mission successful completion. The FBI team leader approached Jake with professional respect. Despite being in deep cover for 2 years, his combat performance was at an exceptional level. Jake stood up with minimal effort. Adrenaline was still circulating in his bloodstream, but his mental state was completely calm. The CIA liaison officer waiting in the corridor approached Jake. Senior Operations Coordinator, 20 years field experience. He gave Agent Phoenix a situation update. Operation Phoenix successful completion. Volkov's 3 top-tier lieutenants in custody. This arrest meant a devastating blow to Volkov's entire network. Financial pipeline disrupted, weapons supply chain broken. Jake looked at his UPS uniform for the last time. This identity, which had been the perfect disguise for 2 years, was now burned. The CIA officer briefed Jake on his new assignment, direct action mission for Volkov himself. Jake accepted without hesitation. Agent Phoenix's identity would be reactivated. 6 months later, Dmitry Volkov was arrested in Monaco by a joint Interpol and FBI operation. The capture operation was made possible thanks to the intelligence Jake provided. Volkov's trillion-dollar criminal empire was completely dismantled. Simultaneous raids in 73 countries. More than 500 criminal associates were arrested, thousands of weapons confiscated, financial accounts frozen worldwide. Operation Phoenix officially went down in CIA history as the most successful international crime-fighting operation. Jake's 3 years and 8 months of sacrifice had made a massive contribution to world security, but the public never learned Jake's real story. Classification level: top secret. No one knew that the polite courier who delivered packages on Manhattan streets for 2 years had actually executed one of the world's most dangerous espionage operations. Jake now works on high-priority missions in the CIA's active operations. Identity classified, assignments top secret, location undisclosed. But occasionally when he sees a courier truck in Manhattan, he makes a nostalgic smile, because those 2 years taught Jake a valuable lesson. The most effective camouflage is the one that doesn't look like camouflage at all. Jake's current assignments are very different: international terrorism, cyber warfare, state-sponsored attacks. But the principles are the same: patient preparation, perfect execution, zero recognition. The CIA gave Jake the Medal of Distinguished Service, but the ceremony classified, medal classified, achievement classified. Real heroes don't need public recognition, they need mission completion. Jake's 3 years and 8 months deep cover operation had a massive psychological cost: PTSD symptoms, social isolation issues, identity confusion problems. The CIA provided comprehensive psychological support, specialized therapists, veteran support groups. Jake's healing process took 18 months: trust issues, relationship problems, normal life adaptation. But mission completion provided a sense of pride and accomplishment. Jake had made the world a safer place. Jake now mentors other veteran agents, experience sharing, coping strategies. Message: service continues in different forms, from military to civilian, from uniform to plain clothes. Jake's story, classified version, is used as a case study in CIA training programs. Lesson: ordinary professions can provide extraordinary opportunities for national security. Courier, taxi driver, food delivery, maintenance worker, all potential cover identities. Citizens occasionally wonder who around them is actually protecting national security. Answer: impossible to know, by design, by necessity, by effectiveness. Jake's legacy: inspiration for the next generation of intelligence officers, proof that heroes don't always wear uniforms or badges. Sometimes brown delivery uniforms and friendly smiles. Real heroes don't seek fame, recognition, or gratitude. They accept dangerous assignments, maintain perfect cover, complete impossible missions. Jake Martinez never attempted to become famous. He never wanted media attention. He simply went to work every morning, delivered packages, and made the world incrementally safer. That's ultimate heroism. Invisible service, unknown sacrifice, unrealized impact. Jake occasionally walks on Manhattan streets. He looks like a normal civilian, but inside, he knows. He prevented an international catastrophe. He protected innocent lives. And that knowledge is enough. Heroes don't need applause, they need mission success. So have you ever encountered someone like Jake? Someone with an ordinary appearance but extraordinary background? Share your experiences in the comments. Help us recognize the hidden protectors around us. Because at Hidden Legends, we know the greatest heroes are often the most silent ones. Sometimes they wear uniforms, sometimes work clothes, but always, when needed, they're there. If this story touched you, like it, share it, subscribe. Help these powerful stories continue.